Hey guys, Bootsy and Shavo here. Here to remind you that throughout the episode, there's a few mentions of some light spoilers, so please proceed with caution. Thank you. What's up guys, welcome to Booze and Boss Fights. Today we're talking about what Bootsy's packing below the belt and why we hate Cynthia so damn much.
And today we're also going to learn why Shavo only pays in blocks, and we're also going to try to figure out why this camera keeps making my background light and dark throughout the whole video. But either way, today we're going to be reviewing Alan Wake 2, so sit back, relax, grab your favorite drink, and enjoy. Let's get into it.
Woo! Yeah, what can I say? I'm just a fucking professional.
Absolutely.
Well, I'd say that's an easy way to roll in. Bootsy, what are you drinking, sir?
What am I drinking?
Yeah.
Oh, you want to know what I'm drinking?
No.
I can tell you exactly what I'm drinking. Oh.
Wait, yes.
All right. Oh, okay.
I got that backwards.
I'll tell you exactly
Yes.
what I'm drinking. So, field goal? All right. So, I am drinking a beer by a brewery called The Veil. They're located in Richmond, Virginia. The beer that I am drinking is called Bend, which is an American pale ale. It's 5%, so it's not going to kill me.
Nice.
Considering it's still early enough in the afternoon. Maybe I can actually get a decent... Nope. You may still have to throw some sort of
We'll get one
graphic
in
up there. Camera does not. Don't worry, guys. A new camera is coming soon. So hopefully for the next video, we'll have, Shavo quality video in there. But I do have I have a sweet glass to go along with it. It is I can't even show it. It's a
damn.
Pokemon glass.
It looks sick.
And it's all of the original Gen 1 Pokemon on the glass.
That's
That's what I will be drinking out of today. So, yeah, Shavo, what do you got? I know you're
well,
excited to show me.
I am excited because I can't remember whenever you have come down to the wild country of North Carolina. Appalachian Mountain Brewery. When my wife and I lived up in the area that this brewery is, we partook from them a lot. Like it quickly became our favorite brewery there. Also, like the location of their brewery, it's awesome. It's an awesome place to hang out. The live music there, the whole place is like a crazy good vibe. So we love it. This is Longleaf IPA.
Well, I like that can.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's like a whole tie around North Carolina. And I couldn't read because I couldn't find the ABV and I didn't want to take the time to read. But when you were talking about ABV, I found it. I wanted to drink something lighter since it's a little earlier in the day right now, but
I can change my choice if you want. I can go heavier if you need me to.
You listen, you do what you. I'm just gonna say this is 7.1%, okay? And I'm a little baby. I'm a little baby. I can pay you with blocks. This is all I have. Well, it's not all I have. I have actually several to choose from, but I was excited to drink some A and B, and I've never had the Longleaf IPA before.
Sweet.
So, you wanna crack these bad boys open?
Absolutely.
You go first. Ooh. Here we go.
Ow. I got beer in my eye.
I don't know. It might have blocked it on Discord.
It did not catch. Yeah, I was gonna say it didn't catch anything.
It's all over me.
Oh God. Oh, it's everywhere.
Well, I guess these jeans are getting washed today. Oh, I can't wait for my wife to go home and be like, "Why do you reek of alcohol?"
Don't explain anything.
Yeah, it's a funny story. I just got drunk as shit earlier. Oh my God.
It was crazy. We
All right.
started at 9 a.m. and
Just
didn't stop.
didn't stop until just the sip of the foam right there was lovely.
All I got was foam.
See-
It's like half of this glass is foam and half is not. I think I poured this just a little too hard.
I poured this hard too. Hi everyone, welcome to. I've never poured a beer before, and I'm lying about any experience I have pouring. I'm actually 14 years old. Oh my God. All right.
These are all just peel and stick tattoos on my arm. Don't worry about that. Just,
I got these in prison, the daycare prison, of course. You eat one too many crowns and they send you there. Did I say crowns? Crayons?
crowns?
Do you say crayons or crayons? Crayons?
I
How
say
do you
crayons.
say it? Crayons. Dude, it's like one of those things where people say like caramel or caramel. I don't know what I say.
I don't know what I say either. And I don't want to do it now because now I'm like thinking about it.
Yeah, I think I would say caramel. Whenever now that I'm saying caramel, it just sounds weird. Caramel. I feel like it's called caramel, but I say caramel. Oh, I hate this now. Okay, let's take a little sippy. Cheers, Bootsy. Cheers to all of you at home.
Cheers.
Let's do it.
That's good. That is very good.
Woo-hoo! Okay, I can't wait to review this later.
So,
Boy.
I will tell you right now, like first sip, very light. It's a little bready. So, the malt will do that, and you get a little more of like a bready kind of taste to it.
Yeah.
But it's good. It's very light. It's got some like light citrus notes. It's good. It's very, very good.
Man, I will have to send you some of this. Please remind me. Future Shavo and Bootsy, while you guys are editing this, remind Shavo to send Bootsy some of this because I'm not going to rate it, but it's good. It's embodying the citrus piney aroma and resinous character from bold hopping inspired by the North Carolina state toast. By toast, I didn't know we had North Carolina toast. Oh wait, it's the toast. Here's to the land of the longleaf pine. Okay, never mind. Sorry, not that kind of toast.
I thought it was bread.
But us people out here in North Carolina, we do like us some toast. I would say, unless you're gluten free.
I think everybody
toast.
likes toast.
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody likes toast, whether you have a gluten allergy or not.
Yeah, it just means toast hurts you, but you can you can still like toast.
Exactly.
This is great. This is great so far.
I'm excited to hear what you think about it as it mellows out and goes on as you drink it a little more. So
100%. Dude,
so we've got a lot to talk about.
Tons.
You finished the game recently.
I did.
A game that, surprisingly enough, we're talking about today. So
Get crazy, right?
it's so weird. It's so weird how that all works out.
Completely coincidental. Yeah. Should we just go ahead and just say it right now, even though it's on the thumbnail, it's on the title, it's on everything?
You just want to hold out for like the next hour and see if like we can go on without saying the name. Actually, we probably get nowhere with that.
Yeah,
He who shall not be named.
Yeah, no, I'm totally fine. What, you like spaghetti? We can just talk about spaghetti for a little while. Every once in a while, I put pizza sauce in spaghetti because I forget that I don't have tomato sauce. And
I don't think there's a problem with that.
Yeah, no, I just feel like the lives of a million Italians looking down on me from heaven and just forcing me deeper into hell.
Nona is not pleased.
Who's Nona?
Nona? Nona is Italian for grandmother.
Oh. Well, yep. She's even more. She's even more unpleased.
That's
now.
it.
All right. Alan Wake 2. I beat it on stream.
Yes.
Good gravy. Holy crap. It was insane. It was wild experience. You were there for most of it in stream, if not all of it. Okay, so obviously I have like a billion thoughts on it. Actually, not even close, but I've lots of thoughts on it. Some positive, a lot positive. I do have some negative ones. We'll get to that in a little bit. I'm really curious to know like what your overall perspective was like going into it. Like what hit you right off the bat as a viewer compared to me, who was obviously playing the game.
So I guess a little backstory for everybody here. I've actually never played any of the Alan Wake games. So Alan Wake to me was a totally new experience. And I know we're talking about Alan Wake 2, but I also watched you play the first Alan Wake as well, which was helpful for me to kind of understand a little bit more of the story as well. So,
Right.
Which in itself is a great game, but that's not what we're here to review. Excuse me. The coming into Alan Wake 2 and not really knowing much about it, because even if you just watch a playthrough of the first one, you're not really fully understanding what's going on, right? So,
No.
I'm lost. But one thing that really caught me off the bat, or that one thing that really caught my eye right off the bat was the graphics. Visually, probably one of the prettiest games I've seen. Yeah, probably one of the prettiest games I've seen in a very long time. And they did a really good job. I have a soft spot in my heart for Control, which is another game that Remedy makes that takes place in the same universe, and they did a very good job with the graphics there. So it's really not surprising that they carried those graphics and made them even better for Alan Wake 2. Another big thing that I really enjoyed about it was the story. The story is just, it's mind-blowing. There's so many things that are going on where there were times I was watching you play and my head hurt because I was trying to figure out,
Dude,
I was trying to follow the story. And, you know, my Unga Bunga brain can't necessarily figure it out that quickly. So
Yeah.
it took a little while for me to kind of get used to all of that, but the story itself was very, very well written. The voice acting was phenomenal. Hats off
Insane.
to everybody in that game that did voice acting. Just phenomenal. I don't know if you have a clip too. There's a scene, excuse me, in the very beginning when you go to Bright Falls and you go down to the lake to see the body where they did the ritual. And this is a segue into my next portion with the motion capture. Is there's a scene where you're talking to one of the deputies from Bright Falls.
Right.
And you're asking him about the body. And there's the other guy who's all the way down at the crime scene, and then there's the guy who's up at the top, and you're talking to the guy up at the top.
Right. Oh, like right at the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can see like his motion capture with like his shoulder shrugs and his like
Yes, dude.
his little head movements and things like that. That it brought so much life into the characters that you don't see in other video games. So that to me was, and that carried throughout the rest of the game. That was one scene that really stood out to me the most. But
Yeah.
that really brought to life. And then of course they brought back, they had actual live action pieces in it too, which
Yeah. Oh my God. Do I have thoughts on that?
We'll get to the music video and all that other stuff a little
Yeah.
bit later. But
Holy
yeah, that
shit.
all of the acting in general, whether it was the mocap, it was the voice acting, the live action, all of it was just absolutely phenomenal. Sound design was perfect, for the most part.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, we'll get into that. Dude, real quick, sound like positives with sound design. Oh, like you were, it depends how you look at it. You were either greatly rewarded or greatly punished for having good quality headphones and having your volume up, because
I was definitely punished.
you're the times when you're at night, and most of the time there's like some kind of weird ambience of music or something going on, but every once in a while it's dead quiet except for the sounds of your footsteps, and then every once in a while you just hear a rustle or like something happens where if you didn't have your volume up, you probably would have never noticed it, but you hear something and you went from being like, I don't like that it's quiet but nothing's happening, to I'm not safe. I'm not safe here. I want to leave. I want to pause the game, and I want to come back on another day where I might have a little bit more confidence, because
When the sun's out.
yeah, when this oh my God. And like Yeah, I mean, the psychology in this game, they mess with your head so much in the best and worst ways possible, that exactly you saying, like, when the sun comes up, they have taught me to be so extremely grateful whenever you are walking around Bright Falls during the day or anywhere during the day, and you're just like, you can actually relax. You feel like your shoulders droop a little bit, and you're just like, I'm just happy to be here right now. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, let's go here. You hop in a car, and then it's nighttime, and you're like, come on, like, just give me daytime for a little while longer. I'm not ready to get into this. But it's the perfect balance of just like giving you that treat of relaxing and backing it up with story as well. Especially, I mean, of course, if anyone's played Alan Wake, or and now as I'm slowly experiencing, and I don't know how much we'll dive into this, but I'm kind of experiencing a little bit of Control right now. We'll discuss that in the future, maybe, or something.
Maybe.
But I'm learning that there's like manuscripts in there and stuff. It's so nice to be in that relaxing state of mind while also finding like these manuscripts that you can dive into and learn more about the game. It's just awesome. Sorry to take away from your original point there with like the audio and then like how like beautiful the game is and stuff. But yeah, I just wanted to add that in there real quick.
No, please jump in at any time, because I can ramble on about this for a while, just I'm sure as much as you can.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think another thing, too, that you just briefly touched on was like the manuscript reading.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always been, I think we talked about this when we went over Starfield, is I'm a big fan of lore and reading into the lore of a video game and seeing how much of that exists in Alan Wake 2, how many things there are to read, how many things there are to listen to, how many flashbacks you have, conversations you have with other people when you're in the in your little mind space.
Yeah, mind space. Yeah, I think it's called MySpace.
MySpace or
Mindspace.
Oh,
Tom sent me a friend request there, so I had to go make my own.
You're actually stuck with a Polaroid of him. That's the first picture that you have every time you play Alan Wake 2.
Yeah, he was like, "Who is this guy, and why is he my friend?
Why is he always smiling at me?"
Yeah.
But I think because there's such an abundance of things for you to read, and there's so many little cutscenes, it's almost like there's a lot of action in the game, but then there's a lot of just watching and just taking it all in. And I enjoy that in a video game.
Yeah.
So that was really nice for me to just be able to sit and listen and catch up on the story that way.
Yeah, 100%.
Another thing, and you know, I'm sure there's a lot of people that are like this. Normally when you watch a Twitch streamer, right, or when you watch somebody that's streaming, you tend to maybe have it on as background noise, or you maybe invested a little bit, but then you get sidetracked. Maybe you have to go make dinner, or you got to step away for something, or, you know, maybe you just get called to go play video games with other friends. This was the first game / stream in a very long time, or set of streams in a very long time, where 100% of my devotion was to this game. So if that doesn't tell you the quality of streamer and the quality of the game that existed, I don't know what else will. Like the only other time I give 100% of devotion to something in the video game or streaming world is when you're playing the game yourself.
Right.
So for me to be fully invested in the story, in the game itself, in the stream as a whole. Plus, it was a lot of fun to mess with you too. Like,
yeah,
just,
I was just going to bring that up. That's going to bring that. Of course, it's easy to be completely invested when you love watching Shavo just absolutely get the shit scared out of him every 15 minutes. Not to say that the game is just a line of jump scares, but there's some points where it's just, man, I was really in that whole spooky mode, and everything was getting me. Like, everything was getting me. It was like, at the end of the night, I was physically tired, I was physically and mentally tired whenever I finished my playthrough for the night. But
do we have any? And it also probably doesn't help when your Twitch chat decides to scare you. As
all the time
in the most tense of moments, yeah. So I don't know if we have any clips that we can pull up audio wise that have.
I'm sure we can
the jump
find
scares
some.
in them. So, I think letting the people listen to your reactions or see your reactions would be.
Yeah, if I am able to find a little like montage of them, we'll just throw it up like right now. Excuse me.
Sorry.
Oh my God! You dumb.
It's me.
Hey. Oh,
Come on.
okay. Oh my God! I hate you. You god. Oh my God! I hate her. Yeah, there she is. I knew it. I was ready for you, Cynthia. You old. Yeah. Beep, bop, 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 beep, boop, bop. What the are you, dude? Might be going down this ladder again. My. Yep.
Oh, yes, Daddy.
On me. That scared me. Why did that scare me? Caillou always scares me. I assume we found something, and hopefully it was entertaining or something. If we did find something,
it was for me.
You probably saw how absolutely scared I was all the time. I was the first one to admit it. Anytime it was happening, I'm like, I'm scared. I'm just gonna say it. I'm about to pee myself. And thanks for watching. So yep. Oh man, but like it's really funny because I'm one of those people that I don't play it up for the camera as much as like people might think I do. I do not play it up for the camera. I'm one of those people that I'm just so susceptible to jump scares, and they just get me so good. And it's embarrassing for me, but I know how entertaining it is for everyone else. And in the end, it just makes it fun for me too. But like, oh my goodness, yeah, there were just some of those streams where I was just not having a good night.
I think that's kind of the purpose of a horror game, though, right? It's supposed to get your adrenaline up and it's supposed to get your blood pumping, and
yeah,
it's and this one especially, going from watching what I saw in 1 to 2, they've definitely upped the horror element in Alan Wake 2 in comparison to the first one.
Yeah, but not in a bad way. I feel like a lot of, and that's one of the key points I actually wrote down was scary with a purpose. And what I mean by that is that you're gonna get scared. You're gonna get your jump scares, but everything about it feels right. It feels justified, instead of just being like, oh, like run through this corn maze and like these things are just gonna jump out at you just because. It's not like that at all. And while trying to be like decently spoiler free, there's like characters in this game, and whenever you do experience a lot of these jump scares or times that might just seem like a jump scare, it's often justified because these characters that come out and jump scare you, it's not just any random character. It usually is specific characters tied to the story that have been tormented and have had this horrible dark history themselves, and whenever they come out and do these terrifying things to you, and just man, like I don't know how to explain it other than it's justified because they were basically like a tortured soul, more or less. And like they're not there just to go and then like leave you alone. It's like there's a whole psychological element of it where you get tied into like this whole other dimension. And those of you familiar with Alan Wake, you get tied into like the darkness, and you get these like weird flashes from the darkness that are tied to these specific characters, and it's supposed to be emotional. It scares the shit out of you, yes it does, but it's when you look back at it and remove the scary factor, like there's so much going on behind just the little like flash of jump scare. And if you're there for it for the story, which though sometimes it's hard, but I was there for the story. Instead of just trying to run from point A to point B to get away from the scary monster. The story is just insane, and it's so deep, and I cannot help but give like so much respect to the developers and the writers that brought this story together, because as such a big fan of Alan Wake 1, Oh, it feels so good. It feels so good. And like, do you mind if I continue to another positive that kind of ties in with this, since I'm talking about
Go
Alan
for
Wake
it.
1? At playing Alan Wake 2. So whenever I started we streamed all of Alan Wake 2 on Twitch, and we'll link both of our Twitches at the end of this. But I streamed Alan Wake 2 completely on Twitch. The day before Alan Wake 2 came out, we went through and played Alan Wake 1 all the way through. So I had it very fresh in my mind of what Alan Wake 1 was all about, the characters in Alan Wake 1, everything about it, so
And just to preface, you have played Alan Wake 1 in the past. This was just a revisit before Alan Wake 2.
Yes, yeah. Alan Wake 1 is my favorite like psychological mystery horror game ever. I have great memories from whenever it came out on the Xbox 360, playing with my friends and thinking that it scared the shit out of me back then. And now playing Alan Wake 2, it's nothing but the callbacks. Obviously, you're in the same little town of Bright Falls in Alan Wake 2, but whenever you like first revisit Bright Falls, man, there's a feeling of like extreme nostalgia in a way that just feels so good. Like I feel like I'm just gonna get known for being the Skyrim like person at this point, but like it's like whenever you go back and play Skyrim for the first time after not playing it in years, and like you just, I don't know, it's that level of nostalgia where you're like, I know this place, I remember this, or like, oh, this person, like I remember this person. And like one tiny little thing, I don't think it's a spoiler at all, but Sheriff Breaker.
It was Breaker, yeah.
And of course there's Sheriff Breaker in Alan Wake 1, but it's Sheriff Sarah Breaker, I believe. And this Sheriff Breaker is her cousin. And so it's like you hear these names and you're like, I know that person, but it's 13 years later in this story, also real life too. Yeah, it's so fun to see that. And the Oh Dear Diner, oh my God. Oh, the first thing I did going into the Oh Dear Diner was go up to the jukebox to go play Coconut, and there was a note on there that said out of order, a jukebox can only handle playing the same song over and over like so many times. And I saw that and I'm like, I love this game so much for including that in there. It was so awesome. So that it's a scary game, but man, the graphics, beautiful. I think that's the first thing I said when we loaded into the game was, I can't, like, this is insane. It was literally jaw dropping. The story, the nostalgia, man, I'm such a sucker for nostalgia that it's such a cash grab for me. I'll lose so much money just from bringing back like simple nostalgic features in a game, but yeah, huge for me. So I obviously the nostalgia with Alan Wake, that's probably something that's missing for someone that hasn't played Alan Wake before, but like like with the rest, like how did you feel about, I guess, like the not necessarily just the jump scares, but like the scariness factor in it, and how that like kind of tied into the story?
So for someone who genuinely enjoys horror,
Right.
This is going to be a very strange comparison, but I like to I compare horror to hot sauce. This is a very and you'll see my reasoning behind it. So I like hot sauces as well, right? So
Right.
I'm somebody who likes heat. Give me a lot of heat in a hot sauce, but I like a lot of flavor. I don't want a hot sauce that tastes like paint thinner. It's not good, right?
Yeah.
The same can be said when it comes to horror. I like jump scares. I like that ambience, that that feeling of you're safe for a little while and then you get hit with a jump scare. But the jump scares can happen, but there needs to be a purpose. So I like a horror game that has some substance to it. Whereas, the jump scares need to have some sort of reasoning behind it. And I think you make a very good point where in Alan Wake 2, the jump scares happen, but there's a reason behind those jump scares, right? They're tormented souls. These are people that are actually a main part of the series. Like, one of the scariest levels for me was the rehab center.
Fucking
Was it
Cynthia.
Valhalla, I think is what it is?
Fucking
Yes.
Cynthia.
Yes.
I'll bleep that if I need to. Fucking Cynthia. God, that bitch. I hate her. Sorry. Carry on.
She was rough, and that whole scene or that whole area almost gave me very Resident Evil vibes.
Yeah.
Where Resident Evil kind of has, especially when you look at like Resident Evil 4, where you have that false sense of security in certain parts, and then they just absolutely slap you in the face with a jump scare or something happening.
Right.
It's the same exact thing as the jump scares that happen in Alan Wake 2 in Valhalla, or the rehab center.
Right. Yeah.
Especially, I think, when you come across, there was that one dude who I thought it was Tor, because Tor had this ghost thing had a hammer, like a giant two-wielded hammer, but apparently it was just a normal soul, or
right.
one of the, what was it, the tormented, I think is what they're called.
Yeah. Or the Taken. The Taken.
So I thought it was Tor, but it wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
But when you like turn this one corner and there was just this giant Taken dude wielding a sledgehammer, and I was like, what is this? Because everything was quiet. Like you said, there was no music. It was just the ambient noise of you walking, and then all of a sudden this dude appears and music starts, and you're like, oh shit, like this is terrifying. And I actually had that sinking pit in my stomach when you turned the corner and he was just standing there.
Yeah.
And I was like, no. I just want to turn around and just leave. But I loved that. I absolutely loved that. So I think they did a very good job. Also in that same level, you're not necessarily in the rehab center. You're underneath, I think. You're in that area in the water where you're trying to save Tor.
Yes. Yep.
You're running, so basically you're running from platform to platform, and Cynthia's chasing after you.
Mm-hmm.
And while you're running, when you're in the water, you can hear the splashing behind you of Cynthia running after you, but you can't see her. So the anxiety that you get from that scene alone is absolutely terrifying. And I felt it, and I wasn't even playing the game. So I can only imagine what you were going through, because Shavo tends to be very vocal when he plays video games. And he was more so vocal in this game because he was terrified. He figured if he just talked more, it would, it would like negate the horror side of it. Yeah. But during this scene, he was so quiet throughout the whole thing because of just the anxiety. Like you can see him just sitting there playing, and
dude, I went nonverbal.
There was no noise.
Scared. I was no longer on stream. Alan Wake was me. Or no, it was Agent Saga. Agent Saga was me, and yeah. I was running away from this chick in the water. Like, oh my god, that was a whole new experience for me. That was terrifying.
Yeah, but it was great. I mean, not just I say it was great because I enjoyed watching.
I bet it was. Yeah.
I enjoyed watching your anxiety on screen, but yeah. I enjoyed the feeling I got, because I'm like, man, I'm anxious now. If I was playing the game, it'd be a completely different scenario. I'd probably be the same as Shavo. So
right.
I really, I don't know. I think the horror was, I think there were some jump scares that didn't necessarily need to happen. Like they were jump scares that were there just because they were like, okay, we're just going to add one.
Right.
But for the most part, the horror element of this game was done correctly, in my opinion. And I believe, again, it's kind of in that same realm of Resident Evil, Silent Hill, The Evil Within, where a lot of it lulls you into a false sense of security.
Oh yeah.
And then they just punch you in the face with something, and it's great. I absolutely loved it. So.
Yeah. So let's see. I've gone over most of my like some key things I wanted to like specifically talk about. There's one more like key positive I want to talk about, but I will wait unless you have like any more that you like specifically any that come to mind right now to you?
I have a positive, but this is a positive from my perspective.
Yeah, no, that's perfect.
Again, I've mentioned this. I mentioned this earlier that I played through the entirety of Control, and obviously they take place in the same universe, Alan Wake and Control, but the callbacks to Control in this game make me so happy. Like when you see the Federal Bureau of Control or the FBC for the first time in this game, you're like, "Oh my God, this is amazing!" And then you're sitting there, and for me, I never knew Thomas Zane from the Alan Wake series, and to hear Thomas Zane's name, and I'm like, that was brought up in Control. And when you come to realize that Zane was more of a major character in the Alan Wake stories, like that, when you finally get to tie that together, you're like, oh shit, this is really cool.
Yeah.
And then there's like the one scene where it's the live, what's the word I'm looking for?
Musical?
Not the musical, the
it's
live
like,
action scene. It's like the live action scene with Zane and
yes,
and Wake, where the TV turns on and you, for a split second, Jesse Faden's on the screen. And for those of you that don't know, Jesse is she's the director for the Federal Bureau of Control. So Jesse pops on the screen for like a split second, and so does the doctor from Control as well. So you see them on the screen for like 10 seconds tops, but the second I heard that voice, I was like, that's Jesse. So like putting those correlations together, it was so freaking cool for me to see the subtle callbacks to Control.
Yeah.
And as a result, I'm very excited to see where they go with that going forward, whether it's another Alan Wake game or it's another Control game. So.
Yeah, no. And like, as someone that's never played Control before, I started with Alan Wake 1. Whenever Control came out, the way I explained it to Bootsy before was like, basically, I have no negative view or positive view towards it. It's more like just the marketing didn't get to me somehow. So I really never knew anything about it. And then while I'm playing Alan Wake 2, I have Bootsy and also another friend of ours telling me about the Federal Bureau of Control and how it's tied to Control, the game. And whenever, I love Alan Wake. Like I've played it the first one, I've played it so many times. So whenever you learn there's another game that potentially provides more lore about a game you already really enjoy, like that was like, it's like hearing that a DLC for Alan Wake was released and you never heard about it, and now you get to go and play it. So like, I'll be upfront, like there's gonna be something regarding Control in the future of something. So we'll talk about that at a later date. But like, it's impossible for me to not intake that content somehow. Like I just can't. So I was briefly told like spoiler free versions of like why it's tied to Control, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, this is awesome. There's moments in the game where the FBC comes in and all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, like this is them, and like this is how they do things. And and if you haven't played Control before, and you're interested in Alan Wake, I would say you're not losing an experience by not playing it, but from someone that is about to see, you know, what Control is all about, I'm very excited about it. I just feel like it's going to add to the current Alan Wake experience. So I'm very excited about that. So I'm really glad you brought that up, because that's like, I feel like to any Alan Wake fan that would be such like a huge positive if they didn't know that Control was tied into them, or to Alan Wake. But all right, so I have one last like big positive, if you don't mind me going ahead and saying it. So you kind of hinted towards it with like live action stuff, but there's one whole chapter, like maybe 2 chapters kind of, where it is Alan Wake the musical, and you're exploring this. And I know we've already kind of gotten into a few spoilers. So we'll keep it modest, I guess, or try to. But
We'll put a little spoiler warning in the beginning.
yeah. You'll know it before you even get to this part, so it's no big deal. But yeah, you're in a talk show in New York, and you're running through the set of a talk show, but all of a sudden all these massive screens around you are popping up while you're playing as Alan Wake, watching live action Alan Wake do a musical with other characters in the game, the live action versions of the.
That blew my mind.
And like with insane music, with actually really good music playing, I like could not have been more impressed and like so entertained. Like I specifically remember while I was playing, there's one moment where I like just stopped. I'm like, I'm so entertained right now. Like everyone, I know everyone plays video games to entertain themselves and to enjoy themselves, but like that was like peak entertainment. I feel like watching a musical of the game that's happening while you're playing it. Like, oh my, so good. The creativity, 12 out of 10. Like whenever the developers during this part and the efforts made to even create that level, like insane. It was so good. So if you like musicals, play it. I would say, I don't know.
And I would say to touch on that even more, to touch on something that you had said even more, the soundtrack in this game was unbelievable.
Oh, how did I not write that down, dude? Thank you. How did I not write that down? I'm so mad at myself. At the end of every chapter, you are welcomed to a little sigh of relief while it waits for you to make the decision to continue your journey or not, with a new song, or sometimes a continued song, off of the original soundtrack. And there were a few times on stream where we just sat and listened, and it was like, what?
The amount of times when people were like, this is a banger.
Yeah. Like, do not sleep on the Alan Wake soundtrack. It is crazy. It's so good. It's so good. Like I actually can't wait to look it up on, I assume maybe it's on Spotify. I don't know. I use Spotify for like most of my music stuff, but and for podcasting, follow us on Spotify. And rate us 5 stars. But I can't wait to just like my next vacation, or like the next time me and my wife travel somewhere, and just I want to listen to like the entire soundtrack just on one whole trip. I feel like it would be great driving music, or just like great chill music. A lot of the music in there was like really impressive with like the instrumentals and the vocals and stuff, but it's like great for just like hanging out. I feel like I don't know, I loved it. Also the whole Old Gods of Asgard, are you like, we know him from Alan Wake 1. It's like amazing. Like I don't even need to talk too much on that. Right. And if I do, I'm just actually gonna do some real spoilers, because that old Gods of Asgard are just so good. I forget, it's actually a real band, but I forget the name of the real band. Out of possibly Norway, I think. I'm not sure, but my wife.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just saying, my wife commented on it and she looked it up and she's like, "Oh, this is actually like a real band."
Well, so the Old Gods of Asgard are like a real band,
right?
But they've also they do music, obviously, specifically for the movie, or the movies, for the games. Sometimes you forget that it's actually a game and not a movie.
Right. Yeah.
So, and which is also funny. So another callback to Control is they are also in Control as well. So Old Gods of Asgard are mentioned in Control as well, and one of their songs is in Control as well. So
okay,
fun little fact.
Now I'm really excited. Like, dude, when we get to that part, I'm gonna like, that's gonna be awesome. I'm excited.
Yes, but it's really really awesome to see just how diverse the soundtrack was too. It wasn't just your typical video game strings and horns and your orchestrated sections. There were actual artists and bands that were performing as well. And
yeah,
and then you throw the musical side into it as well, and it just everything about it was phenomenal. And yeah, like you said, definitely, I would not sleep on those parts, especially if you need a moment of reprieve between chapters. Definitely take some time and just close your eyes and chill and just listen to the music for a little bit. Maybe let out a good cry if that part before was really scary. Just let out a good little cry and then
I never had to, but you might need to. I definitely never did once or twice.
But so
it was
I think at this point I think we're good to roll into the negatives.
Absolutely.
But I'm thinking before we go into the negatives, let's have a little beer check, shall we?
Ooh, beer check. Yeah.
Beer check?
You want me to start?
Yeah.
All right.
So where you at in your beer? How's it tasting?
So I'm definitely towards the latter half, I would say. I would say about like halfway through with how much head I gave myself at first. And it's
Is
really
that even
good.
possible? I'm impressed. You're gonna need to show me how you did that afterwards.
Yeah, no, it's years of acrobatics and gymnastics training and like a lot of just like not being
now I know why you don't leave the
sound.
house.
Yeah, yeah, everything I need here. It's great. Okay, this beer is fantastic so far. I'm actually trying to take it slow because I could actually like down it pretty quick. It's a very fantastic tasting beer. Even now, it's not like warm. It's still very cold, but like as it's mellowed, I definitely notice the hoppiness of it more. At first, it's like borderline like light beer. Like not okay. That's an exaggeration. It is damn close to being very light. Like it tastes very light at first, but as I continue drinking, you kind of get that like aftertaste of the hops that kind of sticks around for a while, but not in any kind of bad way. It has been absolutely great, and all I keep thinking about is I hope they sell like a larger pack or case of these because I would love to have some more on hand for a future date. What about you?
So Bend is drinking very nicely. It's not warm. We're not at like room temp or anything like that. It's still kind of cool.
Right.
But definitely as it starts to warm, you get a lot more of there's like a pungent dankness that comes from the hops.
Pungent dankness.
And
that's
pungent dankness.
I like that. Those choice of words.
It definitely stands out a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, as it's been warming, that fruitiness that I had in the beginning is actually starting to mellow out. So I'm getting, it's almost like there was less dankness in the beginning, more fruit, and now it's more dank, less fruit. So
yeah,
it's almost kind of like everything started here, and then over time, those flavors just began to change. So I'm probably not going to let this get to room temperature because IPAs at room temperature are pretty bad.
Right.
If it was a stout, I would have absolutely no problem keeping it or getting it to room temp and trying it at room temp. But
right. Yeah, no, this one is the same. I'm gonna definitely finish her off here within the next 10 minutes, I would say.
Yeah. And I would say too, like at 5%, this is a very easy drinkable beer as well. I could have, for the sake of the fact that we're on camera, I'd rather not crush this thing in front of people because then they're going to be like, Bootsy's an alcoholic. So I don't want to do that.
One of these days, though, we got to have a special episode where we go a little extra, and it's things go a little bit more uncensored. For when we'll figure it out in the future.
For sure. and I think I've got plenty of breweries around me that make like high octane stouts, so I can just
oh yeah,
go somewhere and get myself a nice little 13%er, and
probably
just be it'll probably be like 90 minutes of you talking and 20 minutes of me talking and the rest of it me sleeping in the chair. But
no, it'll be 90 minutes of us dancing and then 5 hours of us sleeping and then waking up and being like, oh shit, this happened on camera. We've all been there though, right? So anyways,
yeah, definitely we've yeah
fantastic transition into the negatives. Let's go.
Yeah, speaking of negatives,
This whole podcast. What's I'm gonna let you start, okay? Because I feel like our negatives are gonna be pretty dang similar. So I'll let you take the first one.
So I think a first negative for me is something I already touched on in the positives a little bit, was the jump scares. I think some of the jump scares were unnecessary. Like, there were some that got me pretty good. And again, a lot of them tied to the story, but then there were some jump scares that happened that didn't do anything to me, and I'm like, I'm sitting here watching it and I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Why did we even bother with this in the first place? There was no need for that. You know, we get it. You did one here. You didn't need to do 7 of them in rapid succession.
Right.
Because then it just gets old. You're not scared anymore. Now it's just like, okay, I'd like to just move on with the story, please.
Yeah.
I don't need 45 jump scares in machine gun rapid succession. So some of them definitely were left to be desired. But I would say probably one of the biggest issues aside from that was the audio. There were most of the audio in the game. So let me preface this. Most of the audio in the game is excellent. And I don't know if this is just an issue of how taxing this game is on a PC system, to the point where it was tanking your audio driver, or maybe it was using up too much of your CPU or your GPU, and as a result it was I don't really know what it was doing behind the scenes, but there were especially the scenes when Saga is driving.
Yeah.
And it's a cutscene.
Killed me.
And these are key parts of the story that you need to hear things on. And I believe you had subtitles on, so it wasn't terrible. But you don't get the full effect of the acting with, just by reading the subtitles. But the audio would cut out during those scenes. And you would very rarely, she'd be talking and it would be like, I need to... And it was just... When you start to... When that's happening in, like, key parts of the game, it was such a mood kill. It was such a... Actually, not even a mood. It was like a buzz kill for the whole... It
went from, like, oh, no, please don't do this, to being like, are you kidding me? Like, you're kidding me right now that I can see the subtitles. I see what they're talking about. And then whenever you're like, okay, I'll just read the subtitles, all of a sudden, now you can hear the audio, but the audio is 10 seconds behind. So while you're reading the subtitle, and now you're like, oh man, it ruins it. And listen, I know there's bound to be one of you out there that has played the game, has maybe dealt with some issues, or have looked up some of the technical issues. Yes, it's installed on an SSD. Yes, I have it plugged in with the SATA cable. And like, it just is what it is, right? And I probably should have uninstalled it and reinstalled it to begin with, but it was like in the beginning, if you know, you know. Everything worked perfectly fine. Gameplay, nothing was wrong at all. It was just these select few like loading cutscenes in between, like traveling to a different location, and it's just it's stuff that is, I mean, frankly, it's just important. There's just times, and I won't get into the dialogue, but like times where Agent Saga is talking to her daughter, and after learning some pretty spicy news about her daughter, like it's stuff you need, like you need to hear it. And whenever you're taking several seconds out, first when you're caught off guard by like, wait, okay, I heard her talking, now she's not talking, then the subtitles finally pop up, and then you're like, okay, I'm gonna just try to read the subtitles, and then you have like, with me, listen, I don't know what it is, I just get, it's an overstimulated thing, but hearing audio with the subtitles not even close to matching up, I know there's tons of you out there that have this same feeling. You're like, oh my god, turn it off. Like, it's it's borderline overwhelming. Call me a big old baby, I'll pay you with blocks, I don't care. It's just annoying as shit. So in the end, were we able to get the the full extent of the story? Yes, but not without having to work for it for a little bit. So that was I'm glad you said that. That's the first one I wrote down, because take other issues, which I'll bring up one in just a second as well, but take other issues. Whenever it comes to like reloading or something like that, you're still going to experience the game. When it comes to audio, if you don't find a way to go back and see that audio, or maybe look up a cutscene on YouTube, you're missing a chunk of the game, whether how short or long that cutscene is. There's some pretty spicy information there, and some information that's like really, I mean, it still carries on with the whole spicy thing, but like some sentimental stuff that's just great character building for some of these people, and it's some of the stuff that like makes you attached to them, and it's the shit that brings in the emotion, like the whole thing behind video games, you know. So
Right.
yeah, that's why there were some times where like I was frustrated, yes, but like just like kind of just disappointed, I mean, not kind of, like just straight up like raw disappointment, frustration on stream. Yeah, it was annoying sometimes. So yeah, that was huge. I mean, it's the first one I thought of, first thing I wrote down. So
Yeah. And again, it really does. It takes away from the raw emotion that you feel from the characters, because when you listen to the rest of the game, these voice actors put so much heart and soul into what they're doing,
massively.
And then for it to just be muted or desynced in some way, it sucks, because you're missing, like Shavo said, some sort of raw emotion, something sentimental or something important to the story. And yeah, sure, you're reading it, but you're not hearing, you know, if you want to read emotion, you read a book, you don't play a video game, right? It's just you hear the work that they're doing, and you hear the heart and soul that they're putting into that character, and to not hear that, and you're missing out on what that emotion can be. It's, especially when you're in the moment, it sucks. And like Shavo said, you can go back and watch a YouTube video, but it's not the same, because now at this point that moment has already passed. So I can go back in YouTube and I can watch all those cutscenes again, but it's not going to have the same impact on me that it would have if I heard it the first time
in the moment. I don't want to be the my immersion guy, but like, dude, when you're in it and in between it, dude, you're so
rightful. It's rightfully so.
Yeah,
you have every right to be upset
and
about it.
That's the whole reason why, like, I feel like that's what makes it so stand out so much more, is because it is such a good game, and you do get sucked into the game that much more. So whenever stuff like that happens, it stands out even worse. And so yeah, I wrote it down. I understand not everyone had these issues. To keep it super short on that like specific subject, like my wife was very invested in watching the game because she enjoyed Alan Wake 1. Whenever she was like out of town and doing stuff, when she got back, she wanted to catch up on it. So I was like, hey, let's just watch a YouTuber. Shout out Hollow, an extremely entertaining YouTuber that covered this. Like had the video out 2 hours after the game actually released. So he played it early and stuff, but he's a big YouTuber, but extremely entertaining. We watched his first like episode playthrough of it, and the scenes that it got to where I know for a fact I had these audio issues was completely smooth for him. So I'm sure it has to do with hardware to a point or something, but by no means do I have a bad computer. For 90% of the game, I played it on Ultra. Just whenever I got desperate, I turned it down to like medium just to see if that would have any effect on the cutscenes. It didn't, so I don't think it really did anything like that. Well, while playing it on Ultra, I mean, for me, Bootsy can tell me otherwise, but it was completely smooth on my end. So I don't know how it looked for you guys in the beginning, but yeah. So like, listen, if you've heard of corrections, trust me, I'm not one of those people that doesn't go try to do the research of how to make it better. I know the massive flaw I did was not reinstall it. I should have done that. I get it. But regardless, here we are now. The game's finished. We had these audio issues. It sucked. You mind if I throw in like a minor negative real quick?
No, only major ones.
Okay. Okay.
No, God, what do you got?
So minor one that I thought of, and it happened just enough to where I'm like, oh my God, this is annoying. But it's so minor. This would never affect anyone actually making the decision to play the game. It's just something I thought would be funny to write down. If you played Alan Wake 1, you know how to use the flashlight. Okay. Alan Wake, flashlight. It's important. It's part of the game. You need it. In Alan Wake 2, the flashlight, whenever you use a flashlight beam or a charge or whatever, if you miss it when you hit the button, goodbye battery charge. It doesn't just cut off automatically. Unless I missed something drastic, but I don't think I did. You hit the button to start the flashlight to shine it at someone, and from there the flashlight's on after you hit the button and until it goes through that charge. Like, you hit it again, it doesn't do anything. So I don't know how to explain it. If someone like really doesn't understand what I mean by that, I don't know how to explain it other than you point it at your enemy, and just like in Alan Wake 1 where it focuses the flashlight beam on them to disperse the darkness, right? Once you click it once, there's no going back. You've invested one charge out of your flashlight batteries. And there's times where you look at someone, and depending on, it's almost like a weird hitbox. You can be looking right at them, use the flashlight, and you have to have a certain amount of time that burning effect is on them out of that one beam. And if for some reason their hitbox is weird, or I don't know how to explain it, it's weird, but if it doesn't hit perfectly and you miss like the first second and a half, you have to use your whole second beam for something where you burn him for the next like half of a second. You needed a half of a second more to burn him, and now you wasted the rest of that next battery. And enough times, especially, I don't know if my VODs are published. I'll try to go back and publish them. Copyrighted audio, I do it sometimes, so that's why I don't publish my VODs. but yeah, I mean, if any of you are interested, you could go back and see it and see how many times I'm just constantly bitching that I have no batteries. Constantly. Oh, I mean, a lot. Especially when I'm a big old baby who pays in blocks. I need those batteries because otherwise you're just running. And I hate, like, I need to be able to fight. Otherwise I'm just a scared little baby all the time. And I need the batteries. And I was running out because the hitbox was weird. And I don't know, call me bad, say get good. That's fine. I understand. I do need to get good, but yeah, good. Thank you. Yeah, that was one of my negatives. I have a feeling, and truly, the people that are watching this, truly, me and Bootsy do not compare notes before we do these podcasts. I know we've done, oh God, how many podcasts in the last 20, 30 years? I think we've
probably about 72,
79 and a half. Yeah, something like that.
We're like professionals.
Insane. So, either way, we don't compare notes beforehand, but I have a feeling our next negative might be the same thing. Do you want to try to say it at the same time? This might be horrible.
These are my notes. I don't know if anybody can see them.
Oh.
That's what I've got. I don't really have anything written down.
That's really weird that you did that, actually, because I actually have very similar notes that I keep on a separate page just in case other people see it. But it's this. It might be backwards for you guys, but it's just showing.
That's actually that notebook. That's actual size.
Yeah, no.
You captured the size to scale perfectly.
I don't know what I've captured on paper, but I know that the image is captured in my head and I'll cherish it forever. But okay, not the main negative. The main negative I would say was the audio. the next big thing, and this happened towards the end of the game. Are you like, do you have
I think I know exactly
Okay.
where you're going with this. Yeah.
we'll just actually I'll let you take it away since you were the one that viewed it from like a third person perspective.
Okay, so it happened a couple of times throughout the game, but I think the worst of it was at the end. The game rendering.
Yeah.
The rendering at the end of the game was probably one of the most frustrating things that I saw during the entire game. The audio was upsetting,
Yeah.
but the audio I could kind of get through just by reading the subtitles. Watching Shavo fall through the ether and land in a mission level that was like 8 chapters ago.
Yeah. It was at
Blew
first
my
it was
mind.
kind of cool though.
Yeah, the first time I was like, is this supposed to happen?
Right.
Are we supposed to be here? And then we were talking about it earlier, how like you realized once you got into the elevator and you couldn't go in. It was the well, I won't spoil anything.
Yeah.
But the you were in the elevator and you were trying to use the elevator and it wasn't working. And I think everybody that was in your chat had the same thing. We were like, ah, shit. Especially when you fell through. It's like when you fall through in a Minecraft world and you can see the whole outline of the world from like the out. That's what it felt like. I'm like, that's a mission. That's Bright Falls over there. Like, what's that? You're looking at, and I'm like, you're watching the entire like map design as you're falling through the world, just casually walking as you're falling through the sky, and then you just perfectly land, no problem, in another mission. And you're like, how did we even get here?
Yeah.
And at first I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. If like that was supposed to happen, this game's already like trippy as it is, so it wouldn't have surprised me.
Yeah. Man.
And then it happened again and again and again.
And it was at a time where I don't know if the level load was so intense that whenever you would reload the game, it took forever. Like,
Yep.
I know people with crazy PCs. You're gonna be like, oh, bad PC. I get it. It never happened at all during like the rest. Anytime I restarted the game or like literally closed out of the whole game and loaded it back up, took no time at all. Nothing. It took forever, and we were just like sitting on stream. And for a streamer, it's your worst nightmare because, frankly, I don't really care about like the whole statistics of like every second of silence is a second a viewer clicks on whatever. Okay, I'm not gonna dive into that here, but like I wasn't too worried about it. Either way, it's still annoying to have to wait that long to load back into your game, especially when you know like friends of yours that are watching are like waiting for it too, and like
not only that, when you realize that you're so close, like when you know that you're so close to the end of the game,
yeah,
and that's happening.
Yeah.
I would think even from a non-streaming perspective, when you're playing, if you were just playing this game by yourself and you were having this issue by yourself, I'd be furious.
Yeah.
By like the second time of falling through it, if I wasn't streaming, I would have been like, I'll try this again tomorrow.
Yeah.
This is tomorrow's problem. I'm not going to worry about it today.
The second time I got a little like not mad, but like almost a little mad. Like I was very frustrated. And I was like, oh my God, now we got to do this again. The third time I was scared. And the reason I was scared was because I'm not going to say exactly where it was or where it happened or what like part of the, like how close we were to the end or what chapter, but we were close and we were in the final stretch because I'm a very quick sprint streamer. I don't do long marathon streams. And these streams I'd been doing the last little bit of the game were like more marathon streams for me. And so we were almost done. I wasn't even expecting to finish the game on that day, but we were so close and we're like, let's knock it out. The story's amazing right now. Like everyone is invested. Like it's insane. People were just coming out of nowhere that to like in the chat, and they were just like everyone was invested. It was so good, and I feel like that should speak volumes to how good this game actually is too. But at this part, I was legitimately worried that we were not going to be able to finish the game, and it wasn't because of a decision made in the game. It was because of the game not being able to function. And long story short, what we did was that moment, it was the same moment where I kept falling through the map. We literally stopped before it and just waited for like 3 to 5 minutes. Like, it was crazy. We kind of joked about it.
You stopped and we all just had a conversation. You were like, hey, what's up? How you guys doing?
We all just chilled. And then there was that moment too where I like looked and it chugged while I was looking, and I was like, it's loading right now. And then it stopped chugging, and I'm like, let's try walking. And then we walked, and then every time where we fell through, it didn't fall through. And I was like, oh, thank the gods. And as soon as we like got through that next part, like the game save thing popped up. Big moment. It never happened like that again, I don't think, after that. But
no, there were some minor ones where, like, I remember there were times I was in Discord calls with other people and we're watching your stream, and it was just like, what the hell is that? And we'd point at something, and all of a sudden it would be like stairs. Mm-hmm. And you're like, oh, okay, that's what that's supposed to be. You're like, what is this black mass that's just hanging? It's just a black box. And we're like, what is this? Oh, it's stairs. Okay.
Yeah.
So it happened a couple of times, but not to that extent.
Yeah. And then the way you can change your surroundings while playing as Alan, if you've played it, you know what I mean. That's all I'll go into it for. But whenever you change your surroundings, and I would change it to like a different scenario, and then I'd be like, oh, this one's the exact same. And then 6 seconds later, everything changes. I'm like, oh God, like this is, it just needed a second. So I got used to it quick. It was one of those things where if I understand how something works, and there's like the fix is just me waiting a few seconds, I'll do it. Like, it's okay. But that was one of the biggest annoyances whenever I kept falling through the map, because I didn't know how to fix it. And I know something as simple as just waiting, that seems like such an easy thing. Like, oh, all you had to do was wait and it fixed it. But like, it was very unsure in the moment. And when the only other option is uninstalling the game and reinstalling it, I'm sorry guys, I don't have like gigabit internet and I can download things in 5 seconds where I live. So it was going to be one of those things where I'd come back the next day. And to end it where we ended, like it was just a big interruption. Yeah. Everything was unsure. It just got me worried. So, that's all I'll talk about with that. But that was it was enough for me to. It was enough that like I was worried we weren't going to finish the game when we were that close. So
yeah.
Other than that, was there like any other negatives that like specifically you could think of?
No.
Okay.
My negative list on this one is very short.
Yeah.
So.
Same. And I'll do a funny little approach from yesterday morning. My wife and I were making breakfast together, and we were talking about Alan Wake, and that's one of the reasons why I love her so much, is because she is a gamer as well, and she like enjoys talking about these games, and she's also a writer, so she enjoys stories of games. And we were talking about Alan Wake and how it ended. And I'm not, of course, do not worry, I'm not going to say anything about how it ends, but Amanda was not happy with how it ended. But
oh, you know what? That's a very good point. I'll let you continue, but I do want to touch on that.
Yeah, she was not happy with how it ended. I don't think well, actually, I'm not going to speak for her. I was going to say it wasn't like she was disappointed, but I think she actually was kind of disappointed. It depends how you look at it. It could have been something that people are like, oh, of course they would end it like that. But the way I see it is that it is just the ending of this game isn't the ending. Like there's more to come. And I don't think that's a spoiler, because some people could just view it as, oh, that's just like a artistic way of actually ending it for real. That I just happen to disagree. It makes me excited seeing this ending, because the closure that I wanted for a specific story, and if you get there, then you'll understand what I'm talking about. But there's a closure for a specific story that you need to know. And I personally, right? I don't want to give any hints. I personally did not get that closure, and it made it so when we were running through the credits afterwards, I was silent for a hot second. Because I was thinking of everything that was just said, and thinking like, did I miss something? Were there some keywords that pointed something out? And it's one of those things. I'm probably going to go back and rewatch the ending, because there's a lot of information with that ending, that to, I think, any like generic video game player would have just been like, oh, that was just a regular ending to a game. Nah, this is Alan Wake, man. Like there's information there. There's the way things are said, especially some of the last things that Alan Wake says in the game, which anyways,
Yeah.
please
I
continue.
think I do, and I'm glad that you brought that whole thing up, because I almost forgot about it. So I kind of, to an extent, agree with your wife as far as the ending is concerned.
Okay.
There were a couple of things that happened, especially towards the end, and I was in a call, and I'll throw his name out there because we're friends with him.
Sure.
I was in a call with Fettuccine Weenie when you were at the end of the game.
Yeah.
And I won't spoil anything, but I voiced my opinions on what was going to happen in certain parts. And they were very predictable. And when it finally did happen, like when these scenes finally did happen, I was like, I knew it. I knew it was going to happen. And it did. I mean, obviously it doesn't take away from anything. It's still an interesting twist to the story. But then I think, like you said, the end before the credits. So also make sure you watch through the credits, because there is
Huge.
another scene at the end of the credits. So make sure you watch through the credits and get to the next scene.
Yeah.
But the scene before the end of the credits, you don't really get any closure on anything. You really don't know what's going on. You kind of just sit there and you're like, so what happened?
Right.
And then you finally get to the post-credit scene, and you come to this realization where there could have been some closure, and then you're like, I don't know, maybe there's some closure there, maybe there isn't. I
Right.
don't really, you're really not, you're kind of left on a cliffhanger, and that's a great sign for those of you that I think are fans of the Alan Wake series, that there may be a 3, but then there also might also be a downside of, like, maybe this was the game to end it on, and maybe we shouldn't do another one.
Yeah.
And it's always scary, right? It's always a gamble. You never know what you're going to get with the next iteration of a series, right? So it's scary to think of, like, well, Alan Wake 2 is such a great game, but how do we top that for 3 and maybe possibly put an end to everything? Or is it over? We don't know, you know? And I don't think we will know for a while. But
Yeah.
I think because that ending left so many question marks in my head, especially with how convoluted the story is, because there's so many things going on in this story between Alan Wake's side and Saga's side, that it does get confusing at times. So then you get to the end and you're like, I'm left even more confused than I was before we got to the end.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't think I'm in the same boat as her where I say that it was disappointing. Like, I wasn't upset with the ending,
Right.
but the ending left a lot to be desired, if that
Yes.
makes sense. Like, I didn't feel satisfied with the ending.
I agree with that there's much to be desired from the ending, but okay. Oh,
It's hard to talk about it without actually spoiling it.
I know, dude.
This
It really
ending
is.
There's a lot in this ending.
There's going to be people, like 100%. There's going to be people that say this was like the most typical ending, like anyone could have made up, whatever. I just think that there's so much more. Knowing how the whole game of Alan Wake, Alan 1 and Alan 2.
Alan Juan is the Spanish iteration of the game.
Yeah, that's a new DLC. The entire spectrum of Alan Wake, it gets deep, and Alan Wake 2 gets deep. And so I think there's more to it. And I think the plot that I think I understand might not be exactly right. And so like it's one of those things where like I borderline want to go back and, well, first of all, I'm gonna go back and play it again, because there's a lot of like hidden stuff and a lot of just like fun little Easter eggs that I didn't get, and a lot of that is because I would spend hours on one little part, because that's just how I am in video games sometimes. And I was streaming it. I wanted to get through the story because we were looking forward to this review on this podcast so dang much. So we wanted to get there. I'm gonna go back and finish it. But yeah, I'm satisfied with the ending because my personal belief is it's not an ending. And now, and people are like, you could, because you think there's an Alan Wake 3? No, not exactly. No. But I don't think it is the ending of that story. And the thought of that is more satisfying to me, because I feel like it's going to go even deeper. And that would be wild. If this is the forever end, I'm still happy with it. I still love the game. But the ending would be a little worse if that was the case. So it's a little, my take is a little bit of a gamble on it, but okay. I think that's like all of my thoughts. So I'll leave the rest up to you, and then I guess we'll go from there as far as everything else.
I think you touched on everything. I think both of us kind of touched on everything that we liked and disliked about the game. I personally, because I'm not somebody who physically played it, I'm only giving my thoughts on it from one, a viewer's standpoint, and two, just a gamer's standpoint in general. So, I think having that outside perspective along with somebody who played the game, you tend to have a little more insight from the actual personal player's side of it as opposed to just a viewer.
Sure.
And a gamer in general. So I think that was maybe that could be why some of our opinions differ as far as the ending is concerned, but yeah, I think we've kind of touched on everything. I would say maybe before we get into the actual game review and our final thoughts on Alan Wake 2, how about we go ahead and review our brew?
Let's do it. I'm gonna let you take it away.
See how I rhymed there? That was the good one. Right?
That was amazing. We can after this. You want to like finish that up and make a whole song out of that?
Yeah. I can. Look, the drum set's right there, dude. I'll just start now.
Sick, dude. Yeah, I've got a guitar, and then I've got like something else. I'm sure we could use a tambourine or something. We can make a hit song.
I've got a ukulele in the garage, so we're good.
Easy. Yeah. Egg shakers. Piece of cake.
Yeah, maracas. Yeah.
I'm like looking around for my beer. I forgot it's empty. So I'm gonna let you.
Yes.
Mine
is empty as well. So.
Nice.
So I would have to say, Bend was very, very tasty. And kind of like I said about halfway through the video, is as time went on, the beer tended to change its flavor profile a little bit, which is going to happen. I think a lot of drinks, a lot of alcohol in general, especially if you drink it straight, doesn't have or tends to change its profile over time. And I think Bend was a very, very tasty beer. I am glad that I got a 4-pack of this because there's 3 more in my fridge, so I'm very excited to have another one.
Nice.
But again, as a 5% beer, it's a very easy to drink, very crushable beer. And I think probably it would have been downed a lot faster if I wasn't talking as much.
Right.
So it probably would have been, because I'm not a huge fan of like super dank beers.
Yeah.
So this one was just like right on the edge of being a little too dank for me as it warmed. Yeah. So this would be one that that's probably why I'd get hammered off of a 4-pack of this, because I'd chug them because I just want to finish it before it got too warm. But
yeah,
I'd say out of we'll do the beers out of 5. I think.
Okay.
I'd say Bend on a scale of 1 to 5 or 0 to 5, I guess we could say. I would give Bend probably a 3.7. So it's a little above average. Again, it's very easy to drink. I think it gets a couple extra. Actually, we'll give it a 3.6. We'll give it an extra 0.1 for style. I think the can art is really cool, although you can't see it because my lighting is shitty. But the can art's pretty sweet, and the beer in general is just, it's tasty. It's tasty. Just, I don't think that's something I could let sit out for a while.
Right.
But yeah, I think it's pretty good. So
awesome. We'll have to
What about
remember that
you?
one for our special episode where we just go wild on one of these episodes and
yes,
have a little too much. But here's the can. Mine was fantastic. I really didn't have a whole lot of thoughts going into it, other than I've had A and B before, and I really enjoy A and B. The company itself, I like. So yeah, but does that mean it's a good beer? No, not necessarily. This specific one though was a great beer. This one I would probably do 4.5 out of 5 stars, I think.
Wow. Okay.
I actually wanted to go even higher. My thing is I don't know the perfect beer for me. So I can't until I have that euphoric experience where I have a beer, I'm like, this is the most amazing thing, oh my god. I can't, I don't think I can give it 5 stars. But it makes me sad I don't have more, if that means anything. It was great. It was the fruitiness came through at first to where I was not expecting that flavor at the first sip, and then as time went on, I noticed the what you'd say is dankness, I guess, but not to it was dank as hell, but it was not a bad dank. It was right at the end of it when I finished, it was very good. It just tasted like the hops increased in it over time, right? So I guess that has to do with temperature and how the wind blows, I guess. But
the overall saturation in the air.
Yeah, the humidity levels in my room, they're quite high today, so maybe tomorrow it might be different. But it was good. I enjoyed it a lot, so I'll be having that one again. Which we need to make a list of these somehow, have it tied to the podcast. Maybe we can just add some.
We're only 2 podcasts in. The list isn't that big. We can figure it out.
No. That's what I'm saying is we should have this so it's ongoing at some point. But having a list of what we try and then our current ratings, and then the game with that, the game next to that beer or whatever. So it's you can see what game we did and beer we did. And then you can see all the ratings for everything at the same time. Anyways, I'm rambling about bullshit, but
it's all stuff we could talk about after Shavo. Jeez.
I want people to be included. I think I'm satisfied with where I'm at with Alan Wake. I hope if you're watching this, if you're watching this because you've played the game and you just want to see what other people think, I hope this was entertaining to you. If you watch this and haven't played the game, I'm sorry for spoiling it, but we did warn you at the beginning, and I hope you enjoy it because I enjoyed the hell out of it, and I guess that's where we're gonna rate it now.
Yeah, I would think so. I think I'll go first on this one.
Go ahead.
I think it's better that the person who actually played the game gets the final rate.
Sure.
So I would have to do a little drum roll, please. I will rate Alan Wake as probably an 8.7 out of 10.
Pretty good.
I think the game was phenomenal. I think overall the story was great. Hats off to the developers and to everybody that worked on that game, whether you were on the production side of things or you were an actual actor. Phenomenal work. Absolutely phenomenal work. All of that was great. It's weird when I really don't have much to say. It's kind of I'm at a loss for words at how good the game actually was.
Yeah.
But the game does lose points for me in regards to the audio desync, which again, is something for me that obviously it didn't happen in every game. It didn't happen in every experience, but in the experience that I had through Shavo, it happened. So as far as that's concerned, that's a negative for me. Same thing with the graphics rendering. I think the graphic rendering would have I think probably annoyed me more than it annoyed Shavo, or, more than Shavo let on anyway. But that was a big turnoff for me. And also the ending. I think, again, the ending left a lot to be desired. There wasn't much... there was a lot to wrap your head around. And that's not a bad thing, but when there's too many questions at the end and you're not really left satisfied or fully satisfied, you definitely get points off there as far as that's concerned. But I think all in all, a beautiful game, very well crafted game. And I think Shavo and I talked about this before. I would love to sit down with the directors and see what goes on through their heads, because it's just, I mean, aside from that ending and some of the production pieces as far as graphics and audio, the game was very, very well done. So, that's probably where I would rate it. That's where I'll leave it. And Shavo, what about you?
Yeah, I'm gonna come from a place where I'm going to look at some of these technical issues and try to look past them, because I don't know how games are developed, and I don't know how to make a playthrough perfect for every single person, as far as how things are gonna behave on the technical side. So I am going to try to chalk it up to I got unlucky, or it was my fault kind of thing, right? I don't know. So I'm not gonna let that affect me too much, because whenever the game was working, which was, like I said, it was like 95 to like 99% of the time the game was working great. It was amazing. And me coming from a place of loving the first Alan Wake and playing that game multiple times, I love the environment of it. Also, I don't know how I completely skipped all of this. I think it's because most people would know from Alan Wake 1 anyways, but the inspiration from Twin Peaks is there. If you're a Twin Peaks fan, oh man, this game, like, it just makes you want to watch it. It just makes you want to watch it so bad. So that somewhere in there adds points to me as well. So I would say I'm going to give this game a 9.6 out of 10. I was going to go 9.5. I felt like I wanted to give it more. I was going to go 9.7, and I felt like, I don't know, at that point you just like round up. So I'm going to go 9.6. It wasn't
very good.
Yeah. It wasn't a perfect game, but, no matter how you feel about the ending of it, right? The everything that happens throughout the game, and the tiny little things of like the two brothers that are like from Finland, I think, that have like the commercials on the TV. It's like all the tiny small details. Oh, I just can't keep myself from like wanting to rate this game. I want to rate it a 10, but I'm not going to, because I loved it so much. And this is someone that like is such a baby when it comes to to spooky games and scary games and stuff. I liked it that much. The story was that much fun. The gameplay was that much fun. And the environment was a huge part for me as well, where it just felt like you're living in that same area of Twin Peaks. Which from a realism meets fantasy perspective, you are actually, but I'll leave it at that. 9.6 out of 10. Can't wait to play it again. It's probably going to be sooner than later, and I can't wait to play it next October too, because I always try to stream more spookier games during October.
Yeah, and I definitely think so. One thing I forgot to mention too is that I will definitely be going and playing Alan Wake myself. I had already talked to Shavo about this after his streams, once he completed the game, that I'm 100% going and playing these games again. or playing the second Alan Wake. And who knows? I mean, that rating that I gave it may go up after I play it. Maybe my gameplay varies. Maybe I don't have the same graphical issues or the same audio issues.
Right.
So, you know, I'm strictly before everybody like jumps on me. I'm rating the game strictly on the experience that I had viewing it. So this is not the experience I had playing it. That is going to vastly be vastly different, I'm sure. But for now, that is the rating I'm giving it. But regardless, I will definitely be going back to Alan Wake 2 and playing that game for myself. So
awesome. Well, cool, man.
But,
I can't think of like a better, like for two people that both like the game. I feel like that was a really good way for both of us to put it, because the finale of the game hit us both in a different way, to where we both had two different experiences. Even though one was playing, one wasn't, still in the end, we still kind of experienced the game at the same time. Oh man, it's such a good game. I really could not recommend this game enough. And I would love to see Bootsy play these two games, of course, starting with the first one. So hopefully that happens in the future. But
it will. It will.
Yeah, I'm excited. So I think I'm good on my thoughts and my feelings, and I'm out of beer, unfortunately. So what do you say?
I'm not, but I'm not going to keep drinking on camera. So.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that later.
Yeah.
But cool, man. Are you ready to get out of here?
Yeah, let's get on out of here. Hey, thank you guys so much for joining us on this one. Hope you guys enjoyed this little review on Alan Wake 2. And, well, we have a nice little surprise in store for you for the next one. We won't get into too much detail. But
No, yeah.
I think you'll enjoy the next segment we have. So, with that being said, you all have a wonderful rest of your day, evening, morning, whatever time it is.
Where do we find you on Twitch, Bootsy?
You don't need to find me. I don't exist. I'm a figment of everyone's imagination.
I've been talking to myself this whole time.
I'm just a dummy. You can find me on Twitch on twitch.tv/Bootsy83191. That'll be in the description if you're on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I have not been streaming there currently. I've been taking a little bit of a break, but you know,
one day
make sure to follow so you know when I do come back.
You
So
will.
I have some pretty cool things in store for coming back to streaming as well. Just kind of getting some things together for me in my life. So, but
Hickey, yeah.
what about you?
You find me
Shavi boy.
twitch.tv, Sir Shavocado.
It's Pico.
And this is my cat Pico, and he's on stream a lot too. He just I didn't know anyone else was in the room, and he just crawled out of my photography light box. I guess he's been napping in there for a while, so I figured he would say bye as well. But yeah, that's been me. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Check us out on the YouTube. We got the video version on Spotify as well. In case you guys didn't know, we have video on Spotify. It's crazy. We're insane.
I just learned about that after we posted the first video.
Yeah,
so.
it's wild. No one knows. And of course, check us out. Booze and Boss Fights. I always want to say Booze and Bong Rips. Booze and Boss Fights on YouTube. And we'll see you guys here soon.
All right, take care, guys. Cheers.
Goodbye.